There's a reason why America's greatest cities form a line straight down the center of the continent. There's a reason why one river determined who would win the Civil War, who could settle the frontier, and which nation would dominate North America. The Mississippi River didn't just witness American history, created it. This is the story of how 2,350 miles of moving water transformed 13 coastal colonies into a continental empire. This is how the Mississippi River built the United States. The Mississippi isn't just a river, it's a continental drainage system. It collects water from 40% of the United States. 31 states drain into it. Rain that falls in Montana flows past New Orleans. But here's what made this extraordinary. The Mississippi made America's interior usable. Beyond the Appalachian Mountains stretches the largest expanse of flat, fertile land on Earth. But in the 18th century, that land was economically worthless because it was landlocked. Moving goods overland cost a fortune, 30 times more expensive than shipping by water. The Mississippi solved this problem. It provided a natural highway from the heart of the continent to the Gulf of Mexico, and from there to the world. The river and its tributaries, the Missouri, the Ohio, the Arkansas, created over 14,000 miles of navigable waterways connecting the Rockies to the Appalachians. This created a simple truth. Whoever controlled the Mississippi River controlled the economic future of half a continent. After the Revolution, the United States faced an existential threat nobody talks about anymore. Americans were flooding into Kentucky, Tennessee, and the Ohio Valley by the tens of thousands. They were growing crops and raising livestock. But there was only one economically viable way to get their products to market. Down the Ohio River to the Mississippi, then down to New Orleans. And Spain controlled New Orleans. In 1784, Spain closed the Mississippi to American shipping. Western farmers were cut off from markets. Their goods spoiled. Their settlements collapsed economically. Western settlers began talking openly about seceding from the United States, maybe forming their own nation, maybe even joining Spain. Why stay loyal to a distant government that couldn't secure their economic lifeline? Thomas Jefferson understood the stakes. There is on the globe one single spot, the possessor of which is our natural enemy. It is New Orleans, through which the produce of 3/8 of our territory must pass to market. Without the Mississippi, the United States would fracture. The nation would collapse back into weak coastal states. When Napoleon took control of Louisiana in 1800, Jefferson sent diplomats to Paris to purchase New Orleans. Just the port city. Just enough to survive. Napoleon's counteroffer changed history. He'd sell the entire Louisiana territory, 828,000 square miles, for $15 million. The Louisiana Purchase doubled America's size overnight. More importantly, America now controlled the Mississippi along its entire length. The river was no longer a border. It was an American highway. Continental expansion was now possible. But the Mississippi had a problem. It only flowed one direction. Boats could float downstream easily, but going back up meant months of backbreaking labor. Most boats were simply abandoned in New Orleans. The Mississippi was really a one-way highway. Then in 1811, the first steamboat navigated from Pittsburgh to New Orleans. The steamboat changed everything. Travel time from New Orleans to Louisville dropped from months to 2 weeks. Upstream shipping costs fell by 90%. By 1860, over 1,000 steamboats worked the river. River towns exploded into cities. St. Louis grew from 5,000 people to 160,000 in 30 years. The Midwest transformed from frontier to breadbasket. By the 1850s, the Mississippi carried more tonnage than all American railroads combined. New Orleans became the 4th largest city in America, processing cotton, grain, and timber from 20 states. The river had made the interior rich, but that wealth was about to turn the river into a battlefield. When the Civil War began, both sides understood immediately. Whoever controlled the Mississippi would win the war. The Confederacy depended on the river to move supplies from Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana to the rest of the South. Cut that artery, and you severed the Confederacy in half. Lincoln put it bluntly. The war can never be brought to a close until that key is in our pocket. The Union pushed south from Illinois and north from the Gulf, capturing river strongholds one by one. By 1862, they held most of the river, except for 2 Confederate citadels: Vicksburg, Mississippi, and Port Hudson, Louisiana. Vicksburg sat on high bluffs, bristling with artillery. Ships couldn't pass. Confederate propagandists called it the nailhead that holds the South's two halves together. Ulysses S. Grant laid siege to Vicksburg in May 1863. For 47 days, Union artillery pounded the city. Residents dug caves to survive. They ate mules, then rats. On July 4, 1863, Vicksburg surrendered. Port Hudson fell 5 days later. The Mississippi, from Minnesota to the Gulf, was now entirely under Union control. The Confederacy was cut in half. Texas beef couldn't reach Virginia. The South was strangled. The Mississippi River had decided the Civil War. After the war, America decided to do something unprecedented. Tame the Mississippi. Turn a force of nature into an engineered system. The Army Corps of Engineers built over 3,500 miles of levees to contain the river. They constructed locks and dams to control its flow. They used dikes and dredging to pin the Mississippi into a fixed channel. forcing it to flow where humans wanted. The project succeeded. Today, the Mississippi carries 500 million tons of cargo annually, 60% of all U.S. grain exports. A single barge tow can replace over 1,000 semi-trucks. Without the Mississippi, America's logistics system would collapse. The river supports $700 billion in annual economic activity. But the engineering-created consequences we're only now facing. By preventing natural flooding, we've cut the river off from its floodplains. Sediment that once replenished farmland now flows to the Gulf, creating a massive dead zone the size of New Jersey where almost nothing can live. Louisiana loses a football field of coastal land every 100 minutes because the river no longer deposits sediment to rebuild it. New Orleans sits below sea level, protected by levees, increasingly vulnerable as climate change intensifies hurricanes and raises sea levels. We built America on the Mississippi. Now we're discovering that controlling the river demands a higher price than we anticipated. Look at a map of the United States. Where the cities are, where the farms are, where people live, the pattern isn't random. It's the Mississippi. The river determined where Americans could settle beyond the mountains. It made the Louisiana Purchase valuable. It turned the Midwest into the breadbasket of the world. It decided the Civil War. It made Chicago, St. Louis, Memphis, and New Orleans into great cities. The Mississippi created the economic foundation for American continental expansion. Without it, the United States might have remained a coastal nation. The Mississippi made America a continental power. For 2.5 centuries, American success has been inseparable from the Mississippi's power. We channeled it, controlled it, built a nation on it. But here's the truth. America needs the Mississippi River far more than the Mississippi needs America. We built a nation on this river. Our challenge now is making sure that foundation endures. Subscribe for more untold American history stories. Which historical event should I cover next? Comment below.